Mayor Garcetti, welcome.
Great to be with you, Jonathan. Thank you.
It is such a pleasure to have you here today. Welcome and thank you for joining us. I'm going to get right into it. In Los Angeles, like in New York, it'd be so difficult to make significant progress toward a more equitable city without helping to improve the lives of the city's immigrants. It seems like you have taken an important step to doing just that with the New Americans initiative that you launched and expanded across Los Angeles. Can you tell us a little bit about the program and specifically why you turned to public libraries to make it work?
Well, today's topic combines two of my favorite things, which is kind of the integration of citizenship and immigrants together with libraries, which are these incredible places of learning and dreaming and doing. And I love the intersection of these two things because for me, Los Angeles is 63% either immigrants or children of immigrants. A few of us are grandchildren of immigrants, in my case from Eastern Europe and Mexico, but we all have that part of our story, except of course for our native peoples. And whether people came here willingly or in chains, their ancestors, everybody came from someplace to be here in America. And to get back to that core part of the American story and to turn libraries, which are neighborhood institutions, really. They are in the ultimate kind of neighborhood civic stop. And we've been doing all sorts of things with our libraries, from having maker spaces to job centers to being the first public library you could graduate with a high school degree to these kind of citizenship centers. We saw the perfect intersection of our vision of making Los Angeles a city of belonging and building America as a country of belonging, and the actual hard work that goes into realizing that value of training people, giving them the support, the encouragement, the confidence, some of the legal requirements they need to be able to finish their citizenship journeys. And so to me, having 73 kind of beachfronts right there in people's own neighborhood made it something that immigrants could easily, for free, and of course, rapidly access, no matter who was in power in Washington, to be able to go through their journey and to become citizens. And the sooner they did that, the stronger our city would be.
You talked about welcoming, and certainly I think anybody who's living in a big city has seen that libraries really are those kind of welcoming places for new Americans, for immigrants, people who might not be comfortable seeking assistance or services from a government office or even from a nonprofit, maybe that they're not familiar with. But it seems like with this initiative, you've gone to another level of actually empowering libraries, of harnessing them. For example, I read that you are helping library staff obtain accreditation from the Department of Justice. That seems a little beyond what normally happens at libraries and how libraries normally help immigrants, which they do. So has that been important to the program's success, and how did that come about?
Well, librarians are the Swiss Army knives of the world. Like, they can do anything. I think the old classic kind of interpretation is a librarian who's telling you to go, she's saying, shh. It's usually just a woman, it's behind a desk, telling you to be quiet. And if you need help, I'll help you get a book. That is such a wrong, dated caricature. Librarians come from, every background. They are in their hearts helpers who want to connect people with not just the stories of the world and the history of the world, but writing chapters of their books today. A young person, a young adult who wants to learn STEAM classes after school and get ahead in school or get through a pandemic, an out of work, maybe even unhoused person who comes in and is as important as a billionaire to that librarian and get connected with a job and housing. It's a place where people who are immigrants can come. And, libraries have always been places of research and action, but that's been more passive in the past. We knew that if we empowered librarians as the gatekeepers, as the teachers, as even the advocates to some extent, that we could see the acceleration of people's citizenship dreams happen much more quickly. So, our New America, we have kind of two levels of it. We've got all of our 73 branch libraries that have, New Americans welcome stations, which are places you can find your citizenship test information, where you can access, the legal documents that you need and talk to somebody who has some level of training. But then we also knew that the Department of Justice could train some of our librarians to become this army of advocates who can help you go to the even more detailed questions, the nuances of, well, this member of my family was born here, this one wasn't, this is somebody who's undocumented, this is somebody who's a legal permanent resident but wants to become a citizen. That can get so complicated for even the most well-versed people in this space. But for folks who are not, it's bewilderingly foggy, it's obtuse, it's something that you don't know. And having kind of an ambassador, somebody on your side to help navigate this was the vision. So in some of our key regional kind of headquarters and our main downtown library, we said throughout the city, we'll spread out some of these folks who other libraries can refer to, like, okay, that's a question even I don't have the answer to, but if you go here, you're going to find somebody that's as good as any expert in America. And lastly, it helps us not get preyed on by, you know, the folks that often come in offering their help to immigrants, charging a lot, and at the end of the day, really exploiting a lot of our immigrants, often leaving them high and dry and taking their money. This should be something that anybody who wants to become an American should be able to get for free in America.
And so I mean, there's a lot of great innovations happening in cities, and LA is certainly no exception during your tenure there. But what's the results of this initiative? I mean, obviously you've expanded it, but can you tell us a little bit about how it has performed, and how have libraries kind of been kind of key to that success?
I gotta say, it's been a runaway success for us, and I hope for the federal government, because usually you think of local government, well, they have nothing to do with immigration. That's a national policy. That's a national enforcement responsibility, a national legislative responsibility. But I came in and established an Office of Immigrant Affairs in the city of LA. We have many peers around the country and in our bigger cities, but increasingly in some of our medium-sized and even smaller towns in America, where we try to be that bridge between national law and legislation and procedures and local action. So we've had about 6,000 classes since 2012, over 66,000 students, another 6,600 that have gone more in depth to becoming citizens and doing some of that advocacy work directly with some of the folks that are trained at that Department of Justice level. I mean, I've got to think that the impact has been probably in the hundreds of thousands of Angelenos who have a family member who's now gone through some sort of training, education, or accessed some resource in our libraries. And that makes me very proud, because when people live in the shadows, you know, we have less safe communities. When people live in the shadows, we have less prosperous communities. When people live in the shadows, we really have a two-track world in which there's very hardworking immigrants that keep hitting a ceiling and can never break through to the rights and responsibilities of full citizenship. I'm biased about this. I'm obviously unabashedly pro-immigrant, but I think all Americans should be looking at our history. And if people are certainly willing to go through a legal process, why should we make that difficult? And so local government in the city of LA really sees itself as having a strong role to play, and we're a trusted partner. They know that we're not immigration agents. They go to the libraries already. They trust local government, and we're partnering with the organizations they trust, groups like Chirla and Carecen and, you know, immigrant rights groups, Kiwa. So whether you're an African immigrant or an Asian immigrant or a Latin American immigrant, you already know some of these organizations. When you see that combo of a public library you trust and an organization you trust, you know this is a place where you're going to be taken care of.
You know, let me step beyond just issues around immigrants and citizenship, because I think in New York, and I'm sure probably in LA, it's abundantly clear that we've got to make a lot more progress in expanding access to opportunity and in building more equitable cities. And I'm just curious, more broadly than just the New Americans Initiative, do you think libraries have a key role to play in creating more equitable cities? Where do you see untapped potential for libraries to help create more equitable cities?
Well, I see it all around. I see it in every corner of my city and in every neighborhood and zip code in LA. I see young filmmakers wanting to know how you do that. The next engineer who's going to figure out how to engineer the great new product that will change our lives. I see it in adults who never got to graduate from high school, but want to work away, but can't afford to necessarily go back and do something where they have to pay for it, who want to graduate finally from high school. I see it in people who are looking for jobs and not finding the right ones. And so we've layered all these things into a library. If the librarians are the Swiss Army knives kind of democracy, so too are the libraries. They're these toolboxes now where you can go to, and it's not just about finding the right book and kind of doing this research on your own. You can interact with a human being who will teach you 3D printing, who will give you a modem through our Tech to Go program, a hotspot that you can take home if you don't have access to the internet or high-speed access to the internet. You can get online tutoring for free as a young person coming out of a pandemic, disconnected from school, maybe having fallen behind. You can be that unemployed or underemployed or employed, but looking for a better career worker who can come in and a job center that's in a library at our downtown headquarters can actually have that interaction. You can be an unhoused person and go to one of our fairs that we do outside the library where you can get your driver's license. You can begin to get your benefits. You can see a route to get off of the streets and out of a tent and into, you know, full benefits of living in Los Angeles and being a part of our society. So, you know, I think that we try to find what people's needs are, and librarians are the best listeners. They often will tell me or tell us collectively, hey, a few people have come in asking about X, Y, Z. And instead of us just referring them, we'll be like, why don't we just build that into the library? Why don't we invite another agency to cohabitate with us? Why don't we figure out that local group that is willing to do this work with us if we can get a few resources and make people understand that this library is something that will change their lives. It doesn't just kind of connect them with the idea of their dreams. It is the hard work that will manifest those dreams too.
I wonder if you have, this is the last question, but I wonder if you have any advice for our incoming mayor in New York, or frankly, for any other mayor in a big city in the country, around how to tap libraries, because it strikes me what you were saying about all those things that libraries are doing, that they are already doing it. You know, they already are kind of helping to close the digital divide. They already are providing access to homework help and access to technology literacy and lots of other things. But as a mayor or a city official, like, are there opportunities to kind of help libraries go to the next level, to kind of take what they're already doing in some areas, maybe not everything, but to kind of help them reach more people, as you've done with the New Americans Initiative?
Absolutely. I mean, I tell Mayor Adams, or soon to be Mayor Adams, you know, that you've got the best resource, the most under tapped resource, I think, in America, in your libraries. You know, I believe local government is the only level of society that touches everybody everywhere. Doesn't matter your color, your age, your income, your immigration status. It doesn't matter, you know, where you've come from. It doesn't matter, you know, whether you're fifth generation native New Yorker or you just arrived yesterday. It is, you know, not just a laboratory of democracy, but it is the workshop of democracy. Second is what I would say is that, you know, unlike the federal government, which really influences our lives, it touches us, they don't touch us directly. And so the local government is where this abstraction of government that so many people seem to be so divided about, so hostile to many times, and a human being come together. And a human being will burst through every myth that people have about government. So, you know, if folks, you know, look like they are, you know, depressed about the state of affairs, if they are convinced about the conspiracies that government isn't there to help them, have them walk into a library and talk to a librarian and explain what their needs are. And I guarantee you, they will have faith in your city, they'll have faith in this country, and best of all, they'll have faith in themselves and all of us once again. So don't just think about it as one of your departments. In many ways, it's the grand central station of democracy in your entire city government.
I love that. What a great way to end. And Mayor Garcetti, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Best wishes to all you're doing, and thank you.
You bet, Jonathan. Great to be with you.